Welcome back to my channel. I am Tamika Thompson and I am the owner and resume writer at Thompson Resume Writing Company. And for this video, I'm going to be giving you some resume tips if you are someone who has a career gap or a gap on your resume. Now, a gap on your resume means that there is a gap in time from when you ended another job and from when you started another job, or from when your last job ended. So maybe your last job ended 6 months ago and you haven't been working since, and now there's that 6-month time frame where you were not working. Indeed recently conducted a survey where it was revealed that 59% of people admitted to having a career gap on their resume or a work gap on their resume. And sometimes career gaps are voluntary, other times they are involuntary. Now, some common reasons why people may take a break from their career includes mental health reasons, maybe for family reasons, sometimes it's for medical reasons, and sometimes, heck, just life. I know for me, I did actually have like an 8-month career break as a result of just lifing, and I couldn't work during that time. I was focused on just kind of getting myself through a storm and a season that I was going through, and finding a job and working was the last thing that was on my mind. So again, take it from somebody who has been there. It is okay to have a career gap, and if you have one on your resume, I want to give you some tips on how to address it on your resume so that you're not anxious about it or you're not insecure about it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First on this list is I want you to give your gap a title. Don't just leave it blank, and don't just say career gap or career break, nothing like that. I want you to give your gap a title. Whatever you were doing during this time, give it a title. So if you were caring for a sick family member, go ahead and put caregiver. If you went back to school, say that you were a student. If you are a stay-at-home mom, say that you're a stay-at-home mom. If you decided to backpack through Europe, put European traveler. Give your gap a title. Do not leave the space blank, because that's when recruiters are going to have questions, right? Especially if you're somebody who has a long and lengthy and progressive career. You've been working for maybe 10 plus years, 8 plus years, and then all of a sudden your last job was like back in 2004, but now you're trying to get back into the job market. They're going to want to know, okay, well, what the heck has this person been doing? So go ahead and put a title there. If there are multiple titles that you held during that time frame, then you can put that too. So you can put caregiver, comma, student, comma, European traveler, or you can break it up. So let's say it was a lengthy career gap. Again, using that reference, let's say your last job was in 2004. It's now 2023. You're trying to get back into the job market. Maybe from 2004 to 2010, you were a caregiver. From 2010 to 2015, maybe you went back to school to get your master's degree, right? So whatever you were doing during this break, give it a title. Next on this list is, after you give yourself a title, give a 2 to 3 or 3 to 5 sentence overview explaining what you did during this time as whatever that title was. So if you were a caregiver, maybe you were caring for a sick family member. Again, if you were a stay-at-home mom and you were taking care of your child or your children for that period of time, give a 2 to 3 sentence or 3 to 5 sentence overview just stating what it was. So using caregiver as a reference, or caring for a sick family member, maybe you can say something along the lines of, cared for my mother during her battle with dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. And let's say you handled all of her medications and all of her doctor's appointments and handled her diet and making sure that in general she's well and taken care of each and every single day. There's a lot that goes into that. And underneath that 2 to 3 or 3 to 5 sentence overview, have some bullet points there. And you don't want to exceed between 5 and 7 bullet points. And I did record a video on this, giving you all just the general rule of thumb of how many bullet points you should have per job that you have on your resume. But there's no need to have a gazillion bullet points under there. And the key is to be clear and concise about what you were doing and what were some of the general routine tasks and responsibilities that you were handling as you were doing whatever you were doing. So again, using that caregiver as a reference. And also for this, you'll want to include a reason why. So if you took a mental health break, you can say you took a mental health break. If you feel comfortable disclosing your condition, maybe you were diagnosed with bipolar disorder, maybe you were diagnosed with clinical depression, maybe you were diagnosed with schizophrenia. It's okay if you want to say that, you can, but give some sort of a reason. And if you don't want to go into super detail, you don't have to. You can be vague, but provide some sort of a reason, because recruiters are going to have this question anyway. And if you answer it in your resume, that can eliminate maybe one or maybe even two of some of the screening questions that you may be asked in that initial first or second round interview. Next on this list is to include the start month and year that your career break or your career gap started. So let's say you ended your last job in March of 2018. Technically, your career break would have started in March of 2018. And if you're still currently on your career break, it would say from April 2018 to current. And after you list that title, after you give some overview and a couple of bullet points of what you did, what you're doing during this time, include that start month and year. So again, the recruiter has no questions about when this career break actually began. And as you're filling out the job application, the official job application, like on the website, you can enter in the month, date, and the year if you know it. But on your resume, you just have to list the month and year, or you can just list the year. Number 4 on this list is to mention it in your cover letter as a lead-in. So this is a way for you to get ahead of it, so to speak. So you know that the recruiter is going to come across it in your resume. You know that you have a career gap. You know that it's something that they're going to ask about. Why not beat them to it? Including it in your cover letter is one way for you to be like one step ahead of them. And there are a couple of ways that you can do this. So number 1 is you can put it towards the end of your cover letter. So maybe like the last paragraph or the last 2 to 3 sentences, you can say something along the lines of, after taking some time away to whatever, to complete my master's degree, to care for my, mom who was struggling with a battle with Alzheimer's, to travel Europe, I am now ready to resume my career and I feel like this will be a great fit, or whatever. Or you can list it at the start of your resume. So maybe within that first paragraph, maybe it's the last 2 sentences of that very first paragraph of your cover letter. And you only want to make it a sentence or 2. You don't want to dedicate a full-fledged paragraph to your career gap. You want to make it short, sweet, brief. You mentioned it, you let them know, they're aware, move on from it. Because if you harp on it and if you dwell on it, that is going to give them second thoughts about whether or not you are truly ready to come back to the workforce. And of course, like, who wants to read a sob story when you're trying to hire for this position because you need somebody to come on board and get something done? I'm not saying that your career gap is a sob story, but again, recruiters are going through a lot of resumes, reading through a lot of different materials for candidates, and they just want to pick somebody. So mention it briefly, let them know that you had a gap, you took some time away, whatever the reason was, that's it, that's all. And last on this list is if there is anything monumental or a milestone of an accomplishment or an achievement that you made during your career gap, you'll want to include it in your cover letter, in your professional summary, and somewhere in the appropriate section of your resume. So let's say while you were caring for your mom, or while you were traveling through Europe or Australia or whatever, let's say you also went back and got your doctorate degree, or you joined some sort of a club or organization or a board or something like that. You want to include that on your resume, or maybe there's some sort of an award that you won for whatever activity that you had gotten involved in. You'll want to include that on your resume and include it, number 1, as a bullet point in your job bullet point section. So again, right under that overview where you give the explanation of why you took your career gap, have a bullet point designated for that, your professional summary, you may want to have it in that 1 to 3 sentence opening line. So those are some ways that you can address having a career gap on your resume. The key is to be upfront about it and to be clear. There is no shame in taking a career break. Again, as part of that study, 59% of people said that they took a career break or had a career gap. That is more than half of people. And I'm pretty sure that number has probably gotten even higher after the pandemic because there was so much craziness going on, and there were a lot of people who just decided to withdraw from the workforce altogether. There's no shame in having a gap. We are not supposed to work our entire lives all the way through. And if anyone tells you that, it's terrible advice and do not listen to them. Take a gap if you need to for whatever reason. If you need assistance with your resume, feel free to reach out to me directly. My email address is hello@thompsonresumes.com, and you can also visit my website at www.thompsonresumes.com. If you are watching this video but you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can join my growing YouTube community to get more tips and advice on how to handle things such as this, and to also get more resume and career content from me. You can also connect with me on social media. My LinkedIn is Tamika Thompson, and my Instagram handle is @_Mika Thompson. You can also subscribe to my email list by clicking the link in the description box down below. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!